Dynamite the Light. Yeah. Got Dynamite the Light, and I'm going like, okay. All In is done. A very good, mostly, and I know everyone else doesn't say this, it was mostly predictable. Guys, let's make this clear. All In was mostly predictable, but doesn't mean it was bad. It was a very good pay-per-view that was mostly predictable. And that's a good thing, because we predicted that good things should go a certain way, and we got what we thought was good and needed to go a certain way. It did. So, we now have this first Dynamite. And I'm like, what is this? I don't know what I'm looking at here. Because when you look at everything that was shown here, not all of it was bad. I'm telling you right here, not all of it was 100% garbage. No. But you go like, okay, what did we literally get here? We got confusion. Not bad confusion, not good confusion. Kind of confusion on what direction they're actually going into All Out. Let's start with Moxley. We got to. Look, Moxley comes out. He supposedly wasn't known to be coming out. He wasn't supposed to come out. He came out to new music, not his old Wild Thing music. Nope, new music. Balded. Boy's mostly bald now. He took that bit. He went zip, zip, zip. That's something maybe one day I may have to consider. And if I'm going to go bald, I'm going Shaolin. I'm going to just shave all this, keep this here, and look like a Shaolin monk. Very old Shaolin monk with long ponytail for some stupid reason. But he comes out, and he sounded very cryptic, very confusing. Like, the way he was talking was like he was talking to Tony Khan, not Tony Schiavone. Because of the way he was talking. He's saying people need to understand this. He needs to know that this is not his company anymore. And I'm not going word for word, except for the last part about that. But the way Moxley was talking, he was not talking to Tony Schiavone. He wasn't talking to the fans. Other than talking about Darby Allin, because he was not there and we need to talk. So, Mox wants to talk to Darby. And he basically talked to Tony Schiavone like he was talking to Tony Khan. Like, this is not your company anymore. So I'm like, okay, what does that really mean? Eventually, by the end of the show, we get Moxley approached. Moxley next to some staff. And Moxley with a woman that I thought, wait a minute, at first I thought, no, that can't be Beth. Because she kind of reminded me of Beth. I didn't look exactly at her at first. But then it's Marina Shafir, who really has done almost nothing in AEW. No, let's make this clear. Marina Shafir always walked barefoot. She always worked barefoot. She worked in Dynamite. She worked in Rampage. She worked in Collision a couple of times. Then she's been on Honor Club in ROH. That's where we've all seen her. Now, someone decided we need to make Marina Shafir mean something, so we're going to stick with Moxley and maybe throw Darby Allin as an extra little thing once he comes back. That's the way it looks, and I'm going, what is this? Is Moxley breaking away from the Blackpool Combat Club? Because look, the Trio's champions are Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and Pac. Does that mean the Blackpool Combat Club is done and they're going to close it down and Moxley's going to start his own faction now? Because that's the way it may look. But this is just me. I'm going like, what is this? Could it be that? Let's move on. First match. Ime Ishii and let me give you like this. Has Hangman Page been interesting? Yes. Obsessed, crazed ass mofo who wants revenge for what happened to his house, to his kid. I'm just, it's been done well. That's the reason I go, It's like you have almost a deranged lunatic who is focused on revenge. And that's what we've been getting from Hangman Page. And you see this match, which was a very hard-hitting... I mean, it was hard-hitting. Because they really want to put over Moxley. No, I'm saying Moxley. I'm sorry. I'm thinking what's going to happen with Moxley eventually with Hangman Page. I think those two will meet each other again. I think they will. But before that happens is with a Swerve Strickland. And once the match was over and Hangman won and Swerve came out and he was mad about what happened at All In, and he says, I want to rip your head off right now for what you did at All In, but I don't need to worry about that. Only thing I need to worry about is getting my damn title back. And he spoke about, at one point, being exactly like Hangman Page, that he was obsessed with him until he went to his house a second time. Because he went to the first time, but he did it a second time, supposedly, when Hangman Page was going off for work and his wife's about to have a second kid. And literally, he saw that and he says, I don't need to do this anymore. And when we saw the opening of this entire segment with Hangman and Swerve, excuse me, we saw Swerve pretty much says, I feel sorry for you because you're obsessed with me and I'm not obsessed with you. I once was obsessed with you, but I learned what is more important. Is it my obsession to destroy somebody or my want and need to focus on a championship to make myself somebody? So now we get a steel cage at All Out. That's what's coming. I don't know if this is going to end the feud, but it will be interesting to see how far they're willing to push this feud, because a steel cage, they've already done a last man standing match. I believe they did. And pretty much now they're doing a steel cage. The only thing left to do after this, if it doesn't sell, is I quit. That's all that's left. And admittedly, hearing this promo and hearing that Hangman made it very clear, we've had 3 fights between each other and you've never beaten me clean. And that's why the steel cage is coming up. But now the question is going to be, if Hangman wins again, what does this mean for Swerve? And if Swerve wins, does that mean we're going to have 3 more matches to go on top of the one he just beat Hangman with? Because Hangman, even though has lost multiple times to Swerve, if he really wants to prove a point, needs to beat him 3 more times after the steel cage to make it 4, and that will bury a Hangman Page. But that's just me. You guys move on. Move on. But you get my point. Let's move on. I think the reason I'm botching here is because of what I saw with... this match did not look good. Look, I love Jamie Hayter. That's my girl. I love Jamie. And let's make it clear, Harley Cameron, gorgeous Australian. At one point her nipple was popped out of her top. She had a wardrobe mouth. I done this. She did have a wardrobe malfunction. That nipple was popped out. Now, mind you, she's a beautiful woman, just like Saraya. And she shows signs that she could be a good wrestler. But when you look at this match, that was not in the cards in this match. I don't know what the hell happened during this match between her and Jamie Hayter. There were so many times, there was so many botches. At one point, it looks like Jamie Hayter was going to help her to do a springboard, what was it? She was going to do a springboard bulldog off one of the ropes, swing her around and then do it. She couldn't even get onto the ropes. Either Jamie wasn't strong enough to lift her, or she was so sloppy that she didn't even step on the ropes correctly to try and push herself off so Jamie can take the bulldog correctly. It was a mess, this match. There were only a few times it looked good, and Jamie tried to play most of it off. And she tried. I don't know what it was. Was it Jamie because her going, mwah, doing that? She didn't have this. She didn't have, mwah. Because if she did, it wouldn't have looked that bad. But then I'm thinking, could have been Harley Cameron being sloppy as she was. Because sometimes Harley can mess up. I don't know which one it was. But it did not work for me personally. It doesn't mean I hate both women. I don't. It's just that whatever just happened here was sloppy as hell. And then we're going to eventually get Saraya dealing with Jamie Hayter. But here's where it gets interesting. What are we going to be seeing when it comes to this revenge? Are we going to see Saraya? Are we going to see, of course, well, we can't do Ruby Soho because she's gone. She's still on maternity leave. I think she's going to pop soon. No disrespect to a lady. She's going to give birth, but they also say pop out. So she can't get revenge on her. So there's only like a few people. So she only can get Saraya and Toni Storm. And then the best option for her after that is to go after Mariah May, who we just had Mariah May show up, talk about how special she is as a glamour, and basically looking like she's wearing negligee, having the AEW Women's title around that damn waist. I know people are looking. There was one shot of someone who had a poster in his face with his girl watching, and once Mariah showed her luscious body, his woman stuck that poster in his face like, no. And it's like, of course she's going to do it, because, I mean, it's not that she didn't look pretty herself, but it's Mariah May looking like she's wearing negligee with the damn title and pretty much doing what a Toni Storm did at one point, showing a lot of flesh. Mariah May is imitating a lot of what Toni Storm's doing, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with her doing the glamour and copying Toni. The question's going to be, how is Toni going to react to this? What is the Timeless One going to do? If I'm hoping, my Tasteless One is going to get down and dirty and start acting like someone who legitimately comes from one of the bad areas of Sydney and is willing to whoop that ass. But that's just me. Next, we get the 8-man tag, the Conglomeration versus the Learning Tree and a Roderick Strong. Honestly, I wasn't feeling the match. I didn't care. Not that I hate the Conglomeration and I hate the Learning Tree or Strom. It's just that, what does this really lead? And then we finally get the answer to that, because as the match went on and eventually it ended, the faces won. Roderick Strong was pretty much choked out by Hook, if I remember correctly. And the kicker here is that I feel sorry for the Kingdom, because they feel like they're not doing anything. But they did come out, they whooped some butt, and then Strom basically nailed to the face of Hook, and then grabbed his title like he's coming for it. And again, I'm sorry, if you like the FTW title, I don't hate it. But as it stands, they keep sticking it back on Hook. Instead of retiring it and giving it to Taz, they still have him holding a title that really hasn't given him a huge push. I want to see him go to the TNT title picture. I want to see him go to the international title picture. Something more than the Taz's title. Taz's title was supposed to help establish somebody, which it helped Ricky Starks. It somewhat helped do I believe Brian Cage got somewhere with that title? Somewhat. But it was more Ricky Starks. It's more of Hook. That's the truth. But now it's done its job. And if you're not going to stick it on someone new other than Hook, it's a waste of material. It's a waste to leave it on Hook's waist when he doesn't need it anymore. He should be moving up the card, and he's not. And that's why I wish that All In it was retired. That it would be retired and taken off the playing field to give Hook something more to do. Hook needs to move on, but he's not. He's just stuck in the same place. He's stuck with his dad's title, and I don't believe it's helping him. But this is just me, guys, down below. Now there's going to be a few Robert Strom is now going from the International Championship now to the FTW. Remember, world title, international title. Well, technically, it's really the TNT title, but what's going on when it comes to Jack Perry is still a big question. But we got, if you're going to be truthful, world title, TNT title, international title, and now Hook's FTW really low card title, which really is not supposed to be recognized, but it is recognized, and they're not sticking on somebody else than Hook. So it feels like it's a waste. I wish it would have been retired, or at least given to somebody else to be used. I'm just saying. Ricochet versus Kyle Fletcher. Let's put this in perspective. Was Ricochet's style different? Yes. Was it immensely different? I say about 20 or 30% more than what he normally does. And you could tell that he had not pulled those moves out in so long. He was getting tanked. Ricochet's style can be very, very tiring. There's no lie about that. But you could tell the way he was working, he had not worked like that in a long time. And he's going to have to work himself back up to the way he used to be in the Indies and in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because he began to get tanked. He began to get tired. Because he normally doesn't go all out anymore. Now he does. Ergo, the next show. But legitimately, it was good. It was good to see him actually look like he was enjoying himself. Let's make it clear. He tanked himself by the time that match was over. He was so tight he could barely stand. And that was before Will came out and Pac. But legitimately, he tanked. By near the end of it, he was so tired. But he looked like he loved it. And that's one thing that people tend to forget. Oh, we want to see them in WWE. We want to see them when it used to be WWE. We want to see them get treated better. But many ways to get treated better was to let them go all out in their style. In many cases, they don't do that. Many cases, they tell you, we want you to have this style. Or it's how WWE likes it for the camera. Or likes it for the photos. Because remember, high flyers have to have a certain style that looks good for the camera and photos, along with what's going on in the ring so it can be seen by the fans and the fans at the arena or people at home. You can't always go all out unless the people are willing to at least zoom out and watch everything, but they like to have photos that can be sold. They like to have as much as possible good camera angles so people can like it. So I bet you this has been like a blast for him. Now the question is going to be, can he get back in that type of shape he was before? Now, going back to what happened, Will comes out, lays the title out, and then Pac gives him a poison Rana for his, before he even can talk, before Will can even say anything, he gets a poison Rana for his trouble, and he pretty much says, welcome to AEW, but this one right here is mine. This is mine right there. Get in the back of the line, but this one right here, he belongs to me. I'm getting my shot. Fine. That's my boy Pac. He is the bastard for a reason. Love the boy. But now, what is this? Are we going to rush Ricochet? This is where it gets a big question. I don't know about everyone else. I don't know about just Alex, JD, Solomonster. Here's the thing. If you're going to do this right, Ricochet needs to go through the roster. He needs to go through at least 8 or 10 people easily before he even comes close to a Will Ospreay. I would rather see him go through 10 people first, then 2 people, and then he gets the international shot. Because legitimately, if Tony rushes this and doesn't build the story between him and Will talking to each other and Pac messing with him, and that's Ricochet, that is a lost opportunity. And Ricochet is going to end up just like every high flyer. They're just going to do super great matches, and then it won't mean anything. And Ricochet deserves to be meaning something. It's about meaning. It's about relevancy. It doesn't mean always getting the title and getting big money. It's about being relevant and enjoying the work you do. And if they don't do that for Ricochet, at least let him build up into it about maybe 10 people. We'll be fine with that. Give him like 6 months before he even touches the title. Even have a situation with Will. But I don't know if they're going to go there. But that's just me moving on. Now, let me give you like this. If I'm forgetting anything, I'm sorry. Well, actually, I am kind of forgetting what happened with... Let me give it to you like this. The segment with Danny Garcia and MJF. I know you're going to say, dude, you're skipping it. Well, I don't want to skip it. I don't want to talk a lot about it because we still got 2 weeks before All Out. And I want to see what Daniel Garcia is going to do next week. What is MJF going to do next week? Because they both spoke very well. MJF was healing up like he normally does. Garcia did what he did and almost broke his neck because now supposedly MJF got 2 herniated discs. I did hear that. But I'm going to leave it because I want to see what happens next week. The initial shock is one thing. Short-term gain It's always what a lot of promotions do. They don't always do long-term gain. They always do short-term gain, long-term loss. That's how it's always been. I want to see the next week and the week after that, what are they going to add to this? Because if they don't add anything, just do this and they just fight one another, but then they make them do extravagant matches, is what AEW always does, and it loses what it means. You got Garcia almost got his neck destroyed by MJF. We need more. Let's hear Danny talk. Let's see what he does to other people, not in the ring, but in the back. Let's see what MJF does. MJF's going to do it properly. He's going to say his feelings in the ring and in the back. He's going to try and destroy Garcia even before the match happens. But we need to see what Danny's going to do. That's just me. Final. Bryan Danielson. We were waiting for this. I did not know what he was going to say. Look, let's make this very clear. We know Bryan is going to need to retire eventually. He doesn't want to work in ring anymore. He's reaching a point where I do believe, this is me. If I'm wrong, fine. If he's finally finished 100% with wrestling, which I don't think he will be, but if he does, he's earned it. But I do believe that when he loses his title, he is going to work in the back in AEW. He's going to re-sign to AEW. That's what I believe is going to happen. I believe he will become a producer of wrestling. Now, mind you, he could, well, how can I say this? If he does retire in ring, but he doesn't re-sign to AEW, he can go anywhere he wants to be a producer. He could go back to TKO WWE. He could go to not AEW, but let's say he does go back to stays in AEW as a producer or working with talent. He can do that. He can work in the back. Hell, he can go to TNA and help them. I think he should go to TNA and help them because they need someone there that is very capable of understanding what it's really like to work in TKO WWE now, AEW, and also Ring of Honor, and bring something to TNA if they're willing to listen. If they're willing to listen, if he starts working there, I would rather see him work there more than Ace Steel. Not taking anything from Ace. This is what I want. But I do believe he'll resign and he'll work in the back in AEW. That's what I believe. And the way he talked, he wanted to explain that he's going to need neck surgery soon. His family is going to want him to come home. But he made it very clear, I'm not leaving yet because I'm going to defend this title until I lose it. And the moment I lose it, he made it simple in his own words, don't get it twisted. The minute I lose this title, my in-ring career is over. So that means, counting how many months that's going to be allowed, he will work until he loses, and then he's done. He will not work in the ring anymore. He may work in the back, or he'll leave and go somewhere else and work in the back of that company, or maybe he'll fully retire and not work in wrestling, period, which that would make no sense because he still has a lot to contribute to be a manager. He can be talent relations. He can be a trainer. He can be he can work in creative. It's not like he doesn't know how to do that stuff. So I do not believe he'll leave the company. And if he does, he can always go to another company and he can be working in the back. He doesn't have to be in the ring anymore. He doesn't. But after hearing that, it was fine. But then we get Jack Perry, which is the big question for me. That's the reason why I said before that the international title has been more important than the TNT title. Because that's how it feels. Because when it comes to Jack, he's not really acting like the second tier champion. He's not. It's more like Will's acting like a second tier champion. And Jack Perry is not. He's acting rogue. It's a question what they're going to do with him. It's like the TNT title doesn't feel like a title now. It just feels like a prop. And doesn't mean it's a bad thing. But that's the way it feels. Now, when you look at what happened with Grizzled Young Vets and the Bucks, right now those titles feel like they're a prop. But they could be given to Grizzled Young Vets and they won't feel like that anymore. And that's why I think they may go with the Bucks if they let the Bucks job. But since they have like a part-time schedule, it's hard to say they're going to just let them drop it. But when it comes to Jack, it's going to be a big question what they're going to do with him. and the World title that is TNT. I just don't know. They let him beat up on Bryan Danielson. He gave him a knee to the face. The question is going to be how far they're going to go with Jack. I don't know. What is this? Is this a bit confusing in certain places? You don't know how far they're going to go. You don't know what some of these decisions are. What was that match when it came to Jamie Hayter and Harley Cameron? I don't hate either one of them. It was sloppy. But this is just me. Peace.